Hello. My name is Kevin Garcia, and I'm the creator of the Big Queer Adventure Co., a company dedicated to creating experiences for LGBTQ people where they can discover deep healing, find their chosen family, and have a holistic connection to their authentic life. That's me. As you can see, I had an amazing sense of fashion my entire life. And I was probably like 8-ish years old, and it was about 2 years later at age 10, when someone called me a faggot for the first time. I was a pretty effeminate kid, but I was also a Christian. I grew up in a Christian home, and I knew that Christians did not struggle with homosexuality, so you can imagine when I turned 14, got into high school, and I finally noticed a boy for the first time. I was absolutely terrified. So I spent the next 12 years of my life learning how to not be myself. Change my hair, change the way I walk, change the way my voice sounded so that I could survive. Being LGBTQ in the South, especially being a person of faith and being queer, is spending most of your waking hours learning how to survive, being hyper aware of your body, how you move, who sees you as a threat. And we have to do that because we have to survive. But the real question is, how do we heal? You know, we know the stats about what is killing LGBTQ people through violence against trans women of color, against gay kids in high school. And sure, we have conferences and education to teach us how to defend ourselves. We have grassroots organizing, trying to change laws and get protections for us. But how do we heal? I was 24 years old before I actually entered a space that honored both my faith identity and my Christian identity. And so I know that healing comes through vulnerability. And we can only be vulnerable when we come together. And we can only come together when we have space. And right now, the spaces where we can gather as queer people of faith are too few and far between. And that is why we're creating the Big Queer Adventure Co. It's going to be creating camps and retreats, adventure experiences for queer folks to engage with intentional healing practices, deeply spiritually inclusive community, and also a lot of fun. Our first adventure is going to be the Big Queer Adventure Camp for adults, because apparently when you hear summer camp, you don't think about adults having any fun. So think about a music festival, a pride festival, and a summer camp all rolled into one. Think campfires and dance parties and late night convos, hikes through the woods, fun and games, drag shows, and wait, there's s'mores. Thank you to my friend who helped me with that joke. The market is already booming right now for it. When I put out a few tweets at the beginning of this process to figure out who is actually interested in camp, we put out a survey to say, what do you love about camp? Or what do you remember about camp? We had 287 responses off of a handful of tweets. And then we put out the list to say, hey, who wants to know more about this? 400 people are now signed up, and the list is continually growing. I myself have been an LGBTQ Christian content creator for the past 4 years, so I've developed a trust with the people who would already be the end user, the people who are going to be coming to this camp. On top of that, I already have experience with being a business owner. I started one with my friend Donald, and we've been doing pretty well. I also have plenty of experience creating events from 500 to 50 people in different cities across the US. The way we're going to be making money off things is going to be through the ticket sales for the one-day events, for the camps, for the retreats, and also offsetting costs of tickets with sponsorships from churches and foundations, grants, etc., because LGBTQ people are statistically more socioeconomically disadvantaged than our straight counterparts. We're also going to be cutting costs through the use of volunteers. I already have a list of 45 people who want to be camp counselors, and I don't have a camp yet, so that tells you that people are pretty excited about that. We're also seeking fiscal sponsorship. We're in talks with Park Avenue Baptist Church, which is my church, shout out to y'all, to serve as our fiscal sponsor as we start to seek out how we're going to either do nonprofit status. Right now, I'm seeking $15,000, and I know the top prize is only $3,000 tonight, so if any of you have deep pockets and big hearts, my PayPal is @Kevin Garcia. Hit me up later. But that is going towards a prototype camp that we want to run at the end of Q1 to make sure that the type of programming we're creating is going to be actually land and also get really, really good feedback about how queer people experience themselves in something very different than what we're used to. We're also going to be doing a website build out and paying our programming and staff, which is going to be made up of queer people of color and trans folk to make it the most inclusive and most accessible place possible. You have an opportunity tonight to invest in the healing of thousands of people. And as our patron saint of all that is holy, Beyonce Knowles Carter once said, if we're going to heal, let it be glorious. And I'd like to add to that, if we're going to heal, let's do it adventurously. Thank you.
the healing will happen. What is it that is going to be included in these experiences that will be healing?
Absolutely. So I am friends with people who have been creating spaces like this for forever, and I've also facilitated many different workshops. So my friend Candace Dubernat, who actually helped me facilitate this event called Gloriously Queer, is a trained licensed therapist, walking us through different ways of reframing our story, going through grief, allowing ourselves to engage with one another's story. And so I plan on taking that same experience and bringing it to Big Queer Adventure Camp, where we sit down, share stories with one another so that we not only use the collective as a source of wisdom, but we also can glean from people older than us, people who have different life experiences than us.
So, I didn't understand one thing. So when you're having these camps, so you're going to accept, you're going to charge for the camps, right?
That's correct.
So, because then, so I'm assuming, so the $15,000 you're asking for, a lot of it is already going to be monetizable, right? Because you're going to be generating income off of that, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
What's your biggest expense? Like, where is the money you spend on?
The biggest expense right now is actually getting a reservation for a campsite, because campsites require 50% of the beds you're going to be reserving and the facilities you're going to be using for that weekend.
Right.
So really this first one, once we get this first camp done, the revenue from that is going to be able to pay the deposit in the next event and then the next event. So really it's just getting this first one reserved. The one we're looking at is at Lake Logan in North Carolina, and so that one will cost about a $7,000 deposit on that campsite.
And what's the frequency of the camps?
My hope is to do a Big Queer Adventure Camp every single summer. Usually, hopefully around August, because where our other competition is going to be things like music festivals, the Wild Goose Festival, if you've ever heard of that, and people don't have all the money in the world to be spending on vacation, so that's another reason that we're trying to do it in a place where it's not like peak summer, it's just about to go into like school season, so there's going to be a lot more flexibility in people's schedules. Additionally, I think that I would love to, in my mind's eye, I have 3 to 4 to 5 different events throughout the year. Whether it is like a queer musicians retreat, a queer clergy retreat, having in different areas of the country, one-day gatherings in churches like we did with Gloriously Queer LA. But the camp itself, at least once a year.
So let me understand. So the camp is is only one event a year.
That's right.
But what you're saying is that there are other events.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so is that the whole business, like all those other events with the camp? Is that part of the Big Queer Adventure, or is it just?
Yeah.
Are you just pitching saying no? The camp.
No, I'm pitching the entire kit and caboodle. Big Queer Adventure Co. is like the umbrella company that's going to host Big Queer Adventure Camp, Big Queer Road Trip,
Right.
Big Queer Clergy Retreat,
Right.
etc., etc.
So I think when you're telling your story, the best way to say it is that that's where the whole business and the solution is.
Mm-hmm.
The go-to-market is your camp, right? That's where you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it makes sense.
Awesome.
The $5,000 for a prototype camp.
15.
The $15,000. What else does that include? Because when I think about a camp, if you're renting a camp, are they providing canoes and insurance and boats and cabins and food and all the stuff?
Yeah, the particular one.
That seems kind of cheap.
You would be surprised. So this first prototype camp, I want to cap it at 50 people so that when as we're going through programming, we can make sure that we get it absolutely right, doing something on a small scale so that when we take it to the larger scale, we can do it perfectly. So that sheet version is because we're capping the amount of people. I don't expect more than 75 people, including staff, to be at that event. So that is why this one is significantly cheaper than the full-scale one. We're also doing it just one full day rather than 2 or 3 full days, as the larger camp is going to be.
And what have you got in plan? Because you have all these big issues now with background checks and insurance and things like that. So what process do you have in place to make sure that these protections are in place for your counselors as well as screening the people who want to come?
Yes.
You've got an issue by place.
Absolutely. We actually were talking about, similar to a wonderful event called Mystic Soul Project, using an application. Everybody who wants to attend sending an application, talking about, this is my understanding of my identity, this is where I am in the world, and also making sure that they understand issues that face trans people, queer people of color. and other marginalized identities, so that they're coming into a space, they are as safe as we can be, because safe spaces don't exist, but we can definitely create a brave space where we can at least try to be as inclusive and equitable as possible.
And what about making sure that the staff?
Oh, the staff themselves? Probably background checks. Thank you so much.
We always give the honors to the judges. They are the ones who have brought this to the table, and I actually do know what the names are on the checks because I just wrote them down, but I only found that out literally just before I walked over here.
One of the great things about this whole process is that we don't have to judge because we love you like equally. We're so proud of each of you.
Yeah.
I'll call out the office. This has been another amazing night for me. This is the fourth time I've done this, and I'm always blown away with the quality and the work that has been done. 10 weeks of hard work on these, and to do a presentation like you all did tonight, and have only worked on this for 10 weeks just is really amazing to me. So thank you for all your hard work. As always, it's difficult for us to make a decision. We talked about each one, and just because you don't get one of the checks does not mean you didn't do a great job. As you guys talked about, I think you all learned a lot, and I know I've always learned a lot from these. So we're going to start with number 3, and number 3 is recreating families. Number 2 is Nerd Church.
Nerd on.
And drum roll. Number 1, Big Carrot Man.
Yeah!